look at all the animals and the ark. Each side has a door that opens like this. The entire top comes off as well, so it's very easy to get in and out with the animals. Are you ready for a big project? And I mean big in every sense of the word, because of the size of the finished project and the number of pieces that are involved. This is big. It's a Noah's Ark. The plans come from toymakingplans.com. I've used plans from them before. I'm sure to use plans from them again because they make such great plans for toys. I think I'll have to back up before you can see the whole thing. So I attached the pattern to 1/4 inch plywood, and now I've got a pattern that I can use again. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to start with the pattern. We'll need 2 sides from 3/4 inch thick material, and I've got some very nice oak I just picked up not too long ago. It's a little wider than I need. All right, I'm going to cut that to 24. I'm going to cut another one to 24. I'll run those through the thickness planer, and then I'll actually trace out the whole pattern. Now, one thing you want to do when you're working on something like this is a large board. Check for defects, and there's a little bit of a knot there, but only on one side. So I'm going to make that the top, and the part with the knot in it is going to be on the inside. In fact, it's going to be probably where the door comes anyway, so it might even be cut out. Now what I need to do is I got a rough edge, 2 rough edges on here. I need to put them through the table saw. Just rip off enough so I've got a straight and a smooth edge, and then proceed from there to lay out the pattern. Took a fraction off so I had a nice smooth edge to begin with, and then I took it back to the table saw and ripped it to the 8-inch width. I'm going to take my pattern and lay everything out on each piece. The plans call for a 1/8 inch wide by 1/8 inch deep groove to go across this, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 places. So I set up a rip blade in my table saw, and I did a test fit. These are the kind of things that you have to be very careful. Make sure, take your time, make sure the setup is accurate. Use a push block. Wait till the saw stops before you pull the board up out of the way. Now we'll do the same thing with the next one. Alright, I'll do the same thing for the rest of those. Difficult part is going to be make sure they're in the right place. Felt like drilling those 1.5-inch holes was going to take forever, so I drilled a couple of them, and I'll go back and finish that later. But I wanted to feel like I got something done tonight. I switched to number 9 blade. This is a number 9 Pegasus modified geometry blade, and I'm going to make the cuts on the outside of the arc. until I get to the other end. So these will be the two ends of the ship, and there's 3/4 inch thick. There's two of those, and these will be the two sides for the house, or whatever you want to call it, on top. Those are going to be 1/2 inch thick each, and I'm going to grab some material, and I'll do the 3/4 and the 1/2 off of those. I will cut I use the radio arm saw to cut them to length, and I'll use the scroll saw to cut out the doorways. There's 3 square windows at the top of that. I'll need to drill pilot holes for those. And I'll do the 2/4 inch pieces, which are the ends for the house on top of the ark. And then there's a window on either side. I'm going to go over the drill press in a minute, and I will drill the pilot holes for those windows. Look at the major pieces for the ark itself cut, and before I start doing any assembly, I want to go get to work on the most fun part of the whole project, and that is the animals, plus Noah and his wife. So I'm going to make Noah and his wife out of maple. I've got some small pieces left from other projects, 1/4 inch thick for their arms. And then Noah and his wife are going to be made out of 3/4 inch thick maple. When I'm working on parts this small, rather than fool around with spray adhesive or even the scroll saw tape, which is my favorite. Well, that's good for bigger pieces, but for something this small, if I was making a bunch of small pieces on a larger piece of wood, that would make sense, but these little glue sticks work fine, and they don't really leave any residue. They're easy enough to just sand off. So let's set those aside. The animals come on a couple of the sheets. I'm going to cut those out, and the animals are another place where I use all those small pieces left over from other projects, and I'm going to cut them out first. I generally try to use a number of different species for the animals. I'll use oak, I'll use walnut, mahogany, sapele, whatever I've got, and I try to make the colors kind of realistic for the animals. Switch to number 7 blade. The animals are all 1/2 inch thick material. I've drilled the holes for the eyes. Couple different sizes on those depending on the size of the animal. This is walnut. I've got some walnut, I've got maple, I've got white oak and red oak, and that's about it, I think. Oh, I did have one small piece of sapele. So let me start working on the animals. For me, this is the most fun part of the whole project. I could sit and cut animals all day. Speed turned down a little bit on that. Actually, this is blade is probably towards the end of its useful life. It's taking a little more effort. There's not much, but I got a pretty good feel for these things since I've been doing it for so long and have hundreds of hours in the scroll saw. So I'll probably just make a few cuts and then toss this blade and put in another. I've said this before, scroll saw blades are relatively cheap, so when it gets to the point where you know the blade is getting dull, just take it out of its saw, toss it, put in another. Ready to start a little assembly. The sides of the arc. While the sides of the arc are drying, I thought I would put the top together. I don't know, that little house dealie on the top. Put some glue on the side here. Check the fit, it was fine. That was a good thing to do before you start gluing, is to make sure the fit is good. And the end will go right on here. These little spring clamps will do a good job for holding that, at least temporarily. I'll put a couple longer clamps on once I've got both sides on. And lots of finishing options available. For the animals though, I like to just do a simple oil finish. It's child safe when dry. All you do, I use a foam brush. I'll put a coat on the edge and then one side, and then put a piece of wax paper to dry. It does dry fairly quickly, but I won't have time to get to the second side tonight. Brings out the grain and the color of the wood. It's inexpensive, easy to apply, and about as foolproof a finish as you can get. When I built the top here for the arc, I goofed. And I'm not afraid to admit that I goofed. Maybe if you're new at woodworking, you think, oh, I screwed up. Nobody ever does that. Well, there's basically two kinds of woodworkers, those that have messed up and those that will. And I put this roof together with a set of two sets of 90-degree clamps, but what I'd forgotten is that is not a 90 degree there. So it was a tricky glue up because of the angle, and what I did is I built a little jig. I just traced the outline of that roof, whatever that angle is. Rather than try to measure it, I just traced it on a couple pieces of plywood Then I cut them out and I glue the top on it, and to hold the whole thing stable. And I just put the top on there and put clamps on the side. It's not a perfect fit here because of that, but I can stand that. That's not a problem. I will do that. But anyway, I goofed, but I figured out a way to fix it. And that's the thing, when you make a mistake, it's not the end of the world. There's always one way or another to fix it. The worst possible scenarios, you have to throw away some material, but in this case I was able to salvage the whole thing. I took these the two roof pieces were glued together already at a 90, so I just ran them through the bandsaw, so that only took a little kerf out of it, and then I trimmed the other one the same amount so that these are still both the same, well, not the same, they end up the same distance from the top here. Alright, I'll do a little sanding on that and that piece will be done. At the beginning of this project, I asked the question, are you ready for a big project? This is big as far as size, that's for sure. Let me know what you think about the project. Do you think you'd like to build one? Are there any other types of projects you would like to see me make? Please leave a comment and like, and above all, if you want to see more projects, subscribe.